Yep, it's that time of the year again. The month of Halloween. Now you can see why this is such a popular month. When asking people what their favorite part about it is, they usually say trick-or-treating, or the candy, or even the parties. And to that, all I have to say is, you're wrong. The best part of Halloween is the costumes. Now this year, I wanted to go as Iron Man. Now I know what you're thinking, oh, he wants to go as Iron Man. But there's already so many Iron Men and women on YouTube already, what more can he possibly contribute? So that I say, shut up, idiot. Now I can't just build a glove and call it a day. No, it has to have a gimmick to it. Now the gimmick for this project is 1, it lights up, 2, it is going to electrocute people. Consensually, of course. Right now I currently have 1 month to complete it. That is a lie. No, I spent a lot longer, but just for the sake of storytelling, I'm going to say it's 1 month. Starting now. Alright, first up, we need a model. In this case, I found a model online for the Mark 42 on Thingiverse. Now this is conveniently exactly what I need. So let me just download, and we already ran into some problems. You see this part here, this arm bit? It's all in one piece, even though it's 2 colors, and I have 2 different filament types. So that means I'm gonna have to go to Blender and manually separate the 2 colors. Now this took several days and was a huge pain in the butt, but eventually I ended up with this. What's this? I didn't do it well enough? It's fine, let me just fix it in Tinkercad, I'm sure it'll be alright. So first I import the piece I made, then I import the other piece, the original piece, and I attempt to make a hole by perfectly aligning my piece with the other piece to try to make a hole. Apparently I didn't do it well enough, which means I have to go back into the software and do it all over again. Can you see why it took more than 1 month now? So once I'm done with that, I end up with this. Still a little pointy around the corners, which guess what? It's another thing I'm gonna have to fix. So I go back into Blender a 3rd time and fix whatever is going on with that. I import it back into Tinkercad to make sure it's all fine. And then finally, I can start printing. So in this clip right here, it's about 2 or 3 days into the 2nd week. As you can see, I already printed some of the parts and painted over them. Now I'm gonna start making padding out of foam to make sure when I'm wearing the thing, it doesn't clank around. So I make sure to put foam in all the points of contact where pieces of plastic could be touching each other. So here I use a jet lighter to heat up a screwdriver in order to kind of melt away the imperfections of the foam. For some reason I had this weird idea where I'd break open a marker and try to paint it black, but you know, we don't talk about it. After finally printing out one of the bits from earlier, we can finally start working on it, but then we run into an issue. Well, you see, plastic is, well, it's plastic. Oh well, nothing I can't fix with a little bit of super glue. Now in this part, I don't just use super glue, I actually utilize a couple different methods. One being kind of welding it together using plastic and melting it on with an old soldering iron. This not only gives it a little bit of more structure, but also serves as a backup for when the super glue bonds break. Great, now all I have to do is do it 2 more times, and then we'll have a complete forearm. Obviously the next 2 times are going to be a little bit trickier since I actually have to reach inside it, but you know, I figured it out eventually. Now that the forearm is done, we just need to add a little bit of shine to it. So I use this unnamed floor gloss, spray on a few coats before letting it dry. While I wait for that to dry, I work on the little switches. This will allow me to control the 2 systems easily from the outside. Now for the whole shocking business, I'm going to need some way to transfer the current through the person. Now my original idea was by creating contact points using scrap metal and putting it on the fingertips. As you can see, it wasn't really working out. It took a lot of bending. I also had no real way to actually attach the metal to the plastic. It was a huge hassle, so I just decided to use basic cut down screws and made holes in the fingers and put the screws through to act as contact points. Now this idea was also a lot better, since you could screw the wire directly onto the screw without having to actually like glue it or weld it. So now I just do it again with the thumb bit. I made sure to use a different color wire to mark the node. Now for the rest of the week, all I do is just glue. I use little bits of elastic cloth to kind of make the joints so that the parts can move freely without being too stiff. You can see how it still allows movement, but at the same time keeps it in place. Now before I could actually put the palm bit, I'm gonna need to put some electronics on it. But for now, I just attach the fingers by gluing them in place, using some dollar store super glue. Now as you can see, the finger joints move smoothly. Now all I need to do is slide the wire down into the palm area to solder in later. Now I can focus on the palm area. Now it's time to work on the electronics. I'm going to do the bit that lights up first since it's the easiest. In order for the wires to pass through, I burn a hole in the middle. I simply put the wires through and have them run down the palm area. That way I can easily solder it to the rest of the arm later. Now that I finally attached all the electronics of the palm bit, I can finally put the two halves together with some elastic cloth, and I attach it to the wrist joint. So I build a battery off screen, and I solder it to a module that will allow me to charge it using a micro USB. I cut out and paint some foam in order to protect my arm from the electronics. Now here are some shots of how it looks like on the inside. Now it's time to connect the forearm to the hand. First I solder the wires for the LED to the rest of the forearm. Now that the lighting system is done, I could move on to the other system. Now first I glue on the other fingers before utilizing the same technique as before and cutting up a screw and screwing it into the finger. Now these two fingers are a little bit different since they're actually going to connect to the circuit, which then will allow the electricity to pass through the thumb and the pointer. You can see here that if I touch the two screws together, it should complete the circuit. So now I just feed the wires down to the palm area so then I could solder it to the rest of the arm. So I designed this sort of frame to kind of hold a piece of clear plastic in place to protect the LED and connect the glove to the actual forearm. Now here's a little photo shoot I took of the finished product, and just in time too, since I finished the night before Halloween. Now all I have to do is grab some willing participants and test this thing. So I ran some experiments and I actually found out that you can create a large chain of people and have the current run through all of them at once.
3, 2, 1, fire.
Let's do it. Come on. Let's do it. Touch it. Touch it. Come on, touch it. Touch it. Dang, you're no fun.
Now I know you can't tell from the amount of footage that there is, but I shocked at least maybe like 30 people. Consensually, of course. Now if that still sounds bad, YouTube probably thinks so. So why don't you help out the channel and, you know, if you like the video, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. If you have any ideas, good or bad, make sure to leave it down in the comment section. And have a great day.